The impeachment of Joe Biden has moved one step closer after Kevin McCarthy says the Biden business dealings may be reaching a level of impeachment inquiry. This one, my friends, is for all the liberals and all the Democrats, and I would request that you all just share this video with them right now, for I have a question for all of you who may find yourselves watching this video. We'll certainly talk about the news and what Kevin McCarthy said, and you don't have to agree with him, but I'm going to play for you this clip first. Let me make sure we have the audio set properly, and here we go.
I'll give you one concrete example. I was, not I, but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones, so I got Ukraine, and I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
All right. That's Joe Biden on video saying that he told Ukraine's top leadership, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. I am making no direct statements as to what that means. I have a question for all of you before we read the news. In this article from USA Today, October 21st, 2020, fact check. Biden leveraged $1 billion in aid to Ukraine to oust corrupt prosecutor, not to help his son. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Joe Biden was trying to help his son, but that it is a fact that Joe Biden leveraged $1 billion in aid to Ukraine to oust a corrupt prosecutor. That is to say, he went to them and said, if you want something, you must give me something in return. Now, many people have argued that was the policy of the United States. We wanted Ukraine's prosecutor fired. So, of course, Joe Biden, as vice president, had the authority to threaten to withhold aid to Ukraine because it was a policy position of the U.S. Okay. Here's CNBC. Trump administration broke law in withholding Ukraine aid, watchdog says, as Senate prepares for impeachment trial. Now, hold on there a minute, my friends. How are both of these articles from the same year? One from October, one from January. Trump was the president of the United States. He sets foreign policy. It's what he does. In fact, Joe Biden said, call the president. When they said, you don't have the authority, he said, call the president. Okay. Well, Trump is the president here. And he said to Ukraine, there was a threat to withhold aid. Why is it that Trump broke the law in doing it and that Joe Biden did not? Okay, now many of you are probably saying, well, it's because Trump was trying to dig up dirt on his political opponent. Yes, but that's an opinion statement, not a fact statement. And you're fine to believe that opinion. It's what you see and you think Trump is doing. The reality is there is no direct evidence that Donald Trump was explicitly doing this because he was trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. It may be a preponderance of evidence, meaning there are things that suggest that may be the case. Preponderance of evidence does not mean direct proof, is a better way I should phrase it. That is to say, you can look at Trump and his character and you can think, you know what, I really do believe. Unfortunately, really do believe is not grounds for a fact statement. It's grounds for an opinion statement. So when you look at all the information coming out on Joe Biden, his son making $83,000 per month on the board of Burisma, and the phone calls that we now know Joe Biden was involved in, well, now you have a question of why is it wrong for anyone else to believe that Joe Biden was trying to assist his son in illicit business dealings by leveraging withholding aid? They're both opinion statements. I am of the view that Donald Trump as he often does, bumbled into this phone call with Ukraine because a video had gone viral. This video, indeed, that I just played for you of Joe Biden saying, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the money. Call the president. Well, as we've already heard from these watchdog groups, the presumption is it's illegal to do that. So Donald Trump sees that, hears his supporters talking about it, and says, whatever, calls and says, I want you to look into this. People want to know that we're doing something about it. I am not saying that I just absolutely believe Donald Trump or trust the man. Not quite. Not really, to be completely honest. But you need to tell me why you think Joe Biden is allowed to leverage withholding aid and Trump is not. Now, I know there's going to be a whole bunch of opinions, but the reality is this. Democrats tend to just say Joe Biden was doing something good, Donald Trump was doing something bad. The unfortunate reality for all of you Democrats that Republicans say quite literally the same thing, that Donald Trump was doing something good and Joe Biden was doing something bad. All I can say right now is, on the surface, and as the facts dictate, they did the same things with one big difference. Donald Trump was the president. Now, if you want to make an argument that the president doesn't have the authority to withhold loan guarantees, fine. Trump and Biden are both guilty. And thus, Joe Biden should be facing some impeachment inquiry, not specifically over his actions as vice president, which was a long time ago, or his actions before he was president, but his actions while he was president. The lies and the connections, which may end up being a massive conflict of interest. The reality is this. A lot of what Joe Biden did that we view as corrupt did happen before he was president. And Rick Santorum came on Timcast IRL, made a fair point. We should only impeach him for things he has done as president. Okay. But there is still a very deep question of Joe Biden and Hunter are still involved in these business deals. They don't simply cease. I think the unfortunate reality is this is the status quo of Washington, D.C. And the reason why many of these intelligence agencies are so reluctant to go after presidents for these things is because they'd have to go after every single president. Did you know that Donald Trump ordered a commando raid in Yemen? One of the first things he did when he became president. According to family members in Yemen, the commando raid resulted in the death of an 8-year-old American girl. What would you call that? Well, collateral damage, but that is horrifying. For the time being, these are accusations made by the family. We don't have the strongest of evidence, but I demand an inquiry into this, an investigation. I want to know, did Trump order a commando raid which resulted in an 8-year-old American girl's death? We need proof. I don't know if that rises to the level of intentional murder or anything like that, but I don't think any president should be absolved of any wrongdoing. In the United States, we would call that something akin to manslaughter. Perhaps, when you have police on a raid with a warrant and all of that, and it's justified, and someone loses their life, we don't call that murder, depending on how it went down. In this instance, a commando raid in Yemen, we're not at war with that country. So I have to wonder about that, in which case I would like an inquiry. Barack Obama ordered a drone strike on a civilian restaurant in Yemen, which killed a 16-year-old American citizen, and that we know for sure did happen. And they said, whoops, they were targeting someone else. It was an accident. I believe that both Trump and Obama should be held accountable if that's the case. But do you know why they don't go after Donald Trump on that issue? Because if they did, Obama, Bush, Clinton, they would all get locked up for everything they've done overseas. So the question then becomes, why, when Donald Trump leverages withholding aid, do they go after him for impeachment? But when Joe Biden does it, they do not. Well, I think it's rather simple. This is the lightest of approaches. They need some reason to go after Donald Trump. They want to go after him. They want to stop him. I mean, look at the Presidential Records Act stuff they're doing. They lied and claimed that there was an audio of him holding up classified documents. There's no video of it. And as it turns out, a news story had just come out about Milley and attacking Iran. And in all likelihood, we can only assume Trump was referring to that printed out document because he had already said before the story that he had newspaper clippings in these boxes. But of course, the framing is always the worst possible framing for Trump and the best possible framing for Joe Biden. How about this? How about we all agree on this? You investigate Trump to any extent you want, and then we do the same to Joe Biden for the same things. I'm totally fine with that. If Trump broke the law, lock him up. If Joe Biden broke the law, lock him up. But why is it that when there is a video of Joe Biden saying, call the president, you're not getting the $1 billion, nobody cares? Trump sees this and he says, what's going on? Now, by all means, you're saying, so Trump saw corruption, saw this video, calls Ukraine and says, tell me what this is. And if you don't, you're not getting the loan guarantees. It's interesting. I guess the best case scenario for Democrats or the only thing you can really say is, I guess both Trump and Biden broke the law, right? Okay, fine. Lock them both up. I don't care. Lock them both up if they broke the law. But you're not going to convince me that Joe Biden was doing good and Trump was doing bad simply based on your opinion. That's not how the law works. And so long as that's the case, we have a fractured and broken country. Now, let me show you this. Here's at Mays on Twitter. I saw this. Mike Cernovich retweeted this. He says, where's the proof that Biden is actually corrupt? Emails, text messages, bank statements that explicitly detail the scams the Biden were running. No, I want real proof. A video of Biden himself extorting. I showed you that video already. No, I want real proof. Whistleblowers and business partners that have spent hours detailing the scam the Bidens were running. No, I want real proof. See, you don't have any. You're in a cult. Tony Bobulinski. He was the first. Bobulinski said, yeah, the big guy, Joe Biden, was involved. Now we have Devin Archer. Devin Archer saying Joe Biden was on 24 phone calls with Hunter and his business associates. So, yeah, he's involved. Now, you may be saying, but what does this have to do with like, whether or not Joe Biden's advising his son or on these phone calls? So what? Joe Biden went to Ukraine and said, fire Viktor Shokin, the prosecutor, or you're not getting $1 billion loan guarantee. And let me see if I can, do I have this story pulled up? From the New York Post, September 25th, 2019, President discussed alleged Biden corruption with Ukraine leader. In the conversation, Trump mentions that a Ukrainian prosecutor was very good and he was shut down. It's really unfair. He then suggested that President Volodymyr Zelensky get in contact with Rudy Giuliani, his personal lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Call lasted 30 minutes. There's talk of Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that, so whatever you can do with the attorney general would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution, so if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. Zelensky assured Trump that he would look into the situation. The next prosecutor general will be 100% my person, my candidate who will be approved by the parliament, he told Trump. He or she will look into the situation. The issue of the investigation of the case is actually the issue of making sure to restore the honesty, so we will take care of that and we'll work on the investigation of the case. I'm sure you will find out, et cetera, et cetera. But Shokin, who was voted out of office by Ukraine's parliament, was looking into Burisma Holding, an energy company that gave Hunter Biden a seat on its board. Burisma paid Hunter as much as $50,000 a month. Since this reporting, we know that it was $83,000. Shokin's replacement, Yuri Lutsenko, continued the investigation into Burisma and concluded there was no evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden or his son. Okay. So it is a fact. And this is something that's denied by Democrats all the time, but it is a reported fact that has always been a fact that Viktor Shokin was looking into Burisma Holding. In fact, reporting by Matt Taibbi, and a lot of people don't like him because inconvenient facts, I suppose. Viktor Shokin had at least a dozen or so investigations into Burisma. Many Democrats then say, yeah, but he wasn't actually pursuing them. Some of them were currently on hold, but this is a normal process that happens in lots of prosecution cases. They're usually waiting for evidence or waiting for testimony or waiting for documents. But either way, is the suggestion that Viktor Shokin should have been prosecuting? That's certainly what they say. He wasn't looking into it. How convenient. When Shokin got fired, Mykola Zlochevsky returned to the country. When Trump came in and started talking about this case, Zlochevsky flees once again. And this is where we currently are. Right now, we know that Hunter Biden's gallery sold his art to a Democratic donor friend who Joe Biden named to a prestigious commission. You see, here's the reality, my friends. The reason why they're not going after Joe Biden and his family for all the things we know they do, which is illicit, illegal, etc., it's because this is normal. What's not normal is Donald Trump threatening to look into it. See, that's the problem. The problem was influence peddling is the name of the game in Washington, D.C. Everyone does it. Everyone's done it. And it goes back probably 100 plus years. Certainly at the start of this country, less so, but probably still existed because people are corrupt. It's not just that, though. Some of it is kind of just inevitable. I mean, look, if you are the president of the cracker factory and your neighbor has a kid looking for a job, you give him a job. Is that influence peddling? Is that in any way untoward? Is it nepotism? It's not. I mean, nepotism is directly family members, but people would be like, he got a job because he's friends. Well, you got to hire who you know. So if Joe Biden's connected with people and then they go to dinner and Hunter Biden happens to be at that dinner, Hunter Biden makes connections, he's going to get these business deals. That in and of itself is nothing that really bothers me. It just is. The issue is when Hunter Biden and his dad are leveraging his position in government as threats. Certainly then you see Democrats say, but Jared Kushner was negotiating these deals while Trump was doing these deals. And you've got Ivanka Trump was getting these trademarks in China while Trump was, yeah, that's a reality of proximity. I'm not going to cry about it. Trump made one mistake. He tried to upset the status quo. When they found out that Trump made that phone call, you know what the reality was? They said, we all do this. How dare he? How dare he? I'm not saying Trump did it. I'm not saying that Trump was directly involved. But if evidence comes out that Trump was leveraging his position as president to secure business deals for his family, I would say the same thing as I would say of Joe Biden. And we can certainly talk about Trump trying to use Trump Durrell in Florida for the G7, a direct benefit to him. He claimed it wasn't. He stopped. We can talk about, and I mentioned this yesterday too, the State Department website that was reportedly showing advertisements for Donald Trump's resorts. Also not good. Not good at all. Shouldn't happen. Does that reach the level of impeachment and criminal acts? No, it reaches the level of public complaints and maybe filing some complaints and then an ethics board being like, Trump, you can't do that. Joe Biden having friends make donations. You see, this is the corruption within the system. And Donald Trump wanted to look into it. So here's where we are now. Impeachment inquiry. It's meaningless. Impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden appear to be one step closer after Kevin McCarthy said on Monday that a GOP probe into the president is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry. Means nothing. Sorry. It just doesn't mean anything to me. What can I say? It doesn't mean anything. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to go after Joe Biden or Hunter Biden or whatever. We know that whistleblowers have already come out saying that Hunter Biden was getting special treatment. We know that Hunter Biden broke the law. Hunter Biden lied on a form to purchase a gun. I'm of the opinion he should not go to jail or be criminally charged for that. I'm of the opinion the jury should nullify, and we have a Second Amendment constitutional right. However, if you, as a Democrat, are in favor of gun control, you should be demanding the prosecution of Hunter Biden for illegally purchasing a firearm. And then I believe it was his significant other who threw it in a trash can behind a high school. You absolutely should be demanding an investigation into that. I don't think Trump is an innocent, perfect person. I think Trump does a lot of dumb things. But the reality is this. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Everybody has done something that they can twist into a criminal act. Everybody. I mean, look, you probably jaywalked, many of you. Jaywalked the other day. If a cop really wanted to, he could stop you and give you a ticket. You know that a cop can give you a ticket for going through a yellow light? That's funny, right? You're driving. You're approaching the intersection when the light turns yellow and you think, what should I do? Should you slam your brakes on to stop? Or should you go through the light? Guess what? A cop can give you a ticket either way, and you're guilty. That's the reality. You need to understand that when it comes to law, let's talk about disorderly conduct. What does that even mean? People say they have free speech in this country, and you're allowed to go outside and say what you want. You are. And all a cop need do is say you're being disorderly, and then they can give you a ticket. So if you are holding up a sign and protesting, the cop can say, I'm not saying anything of their speech. It's just they were screaming in people's faces and we told them to stop and they wouldn't. So we charged them with disorderly conduct and we arrested them because disorderly conduct is an opinion statement to be interpreted by a judge and the cop can just arrest you. The reality is this. What I see is Donald Trump may or may not have done things wrong. Sure. But why is it that when Joe Biden threatens to withhold aid, we say that's American policy? But when Donald Trump, who quite literally sets policy, says he wants to withhold aid, they say, no, he's trying to dig up dirt on his political opponent. Well, you can go ahead and assume that, and fine. But Trump's never been found guilty of doing anything criminal in that regard. It is the assumption of politicos and people in the media that Trump was trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. The reality was the dirt was already viral in a video. Joe Biden said he did this thing. How come then, when Joe Biden does it, it is not true that he was helping his son, despite the fact that it literally did help his son? So I'll put it this way. Perhaps Joe Biden was not trying to get a prosecutor fired to help his son. Fair point. It's an opinion statement. So then I will say this. The truth is, by getting the prosecutor fired, whether intentionally or not, Joe Biden did help his son. And now that we're learning that Joe Biden was on the phone call with a couple dozen times, Hunter Biden's associates, well, now there's a preponderance of evidence. If Joe Biden was on the calls with his son, had met with his business partners, could it be that Hunter Biden acted as a proxy for himself? I'm not going to go ahead and say I know definitively that's true, but certainly there's a preponderance of evidence, right? There's the email suggesting 10% held by Hunter for the big guy. And who's the big guy? Well, according to business associates involved in the deal, it was Joe Biden. Okay. Hey, the one thing I'll give you is you don't impeach someone for something they did before. That's fine. But perhaps you can criminally charge them for the illegal things they did before. How about that? You want to go after Trump? Do so with my blessing. But that also means you've got to go after Joe Biden. And we cannot exist as a country if y'all are sitting there saying Trump is evil, he should be charged. Joe Biden is good, he should not be charged. It should be for a jury to decide. So I'll give you this. You want to arrest and indict Trump? Sure, fine, whatever. I don't care. Do it. Because if he broke the law, he should go to jail. And then I'll eagerly await your honor and integrity in criminally charging Joe Biden. But I got to be honest, I'm not going to hold my breath. Clip of Biden calling voter who asked about Hunter's foreign business deal a damn liar resurfaces after $10 million corruption claims emerged. Okay. You know what? The Republicans won't do anything anyway. So you can rest your little head and go to sleep with that warm, fuzzy feeling. Don't worry. The Joe Biden corporate neoliberal establishment shill that you know and love will likely be okay. Have a nice day, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.